So we're live. Hello, everybody. This is Lee Daniel, and I'm here with my lovely co-host, Allison Reiner. Allison, tell everybody who you are.
Well, I am Alison Reiner, and I'm your Loved Again coach, working with women who are not sure whether they want to stay married or not, trying to make that decision on whether they want to stay or go, and working really to get them to know themselves inside out, so that so whatever decision they make, they take themselves, the best version of themselves forward. So that's who I am. And over to you, Caroline. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I suppose mine's a bit of a follow-on from that. So hi everybody, my name is Caroline Strawson and I'm a divorce and breakup coach. So I help men and women move beyond divorce, both during the immediate aftermath and beyond, so that you can, as I found, make divorce your superpower.
Well, I love that, and I love the idea, because you guys know me. I'm Lee Daniel, and this is not legal advice. This is practical advice for before, during, and after the divorce, and I would love to see every client that I have fly out of the window, the door. You know, not because I want to get rid of them, but because I want them to see that this is an opportunity to have the life that they really wanted. You know, and so today, what we're going to be talking about is navigating the emotional aspects of a divorce after the divorce. And I'm so excited that Caroline is here with us, because I see a lot of people that have some lingering emotional trauma after the divorce. And Allison, so as a relationship coach, is that one of the things that keeps people married?
It's exactly one of the things that keeps people married, or if not married, in the relationship for so much longer than really they should be. You know, the fear of what's going to happen on the other side, the fear of never finding anyone else, the fear of not being able to stand on your own 2 feet from a female perspective. But men tend to just go along with it anyway, because it's easier as it is than actually, you know, going out and looking for their own version of happiness.
Right, or maybe financial considerations. I have lots of clients who recently somebody said it's cheaper to keep her, and I said, what are you talking about? And he explained that some people just say they work out the economics and it's cheaper to just stay unhappy. And for me, everybody that's watched knows that I believe that we all have an inherent right to be happy and to feel joy. And so, Caroline, I know that you help those people after in that stage. So tell us about what do you do? What's the first step when you're going through the divorce, you're finalizing the divorce? What's next?
I think you hit the nail on the head as well there, Lee and Ali. I know certainly from my perspective, staying in my marriage at the time, it was financial reasons first and foremost. I thought, how could I survive on my own? I'd got 2 children, and even though I was married to a narcissist, I was having emotional abuse, but I felt it was acceptable for my happiness to stay. And actually, when we eventually did divorce, you know, the bizarre thing is all those things that I feared actually did still happen. I was in £70,000 worth of debt, and I lost my family home. And for a good few years, I'd say I sat in that kind of victim of my own circumstances, which I think a lot of us do. And it's processing everything. When you go through a divorce process, you know, it's second really to losing someone close and dear to you, those emotional aspects you go through, and you go through a grieving process. So you go through that initial denial, you know, why me, why is this happening to me? And you go into the anger stage, then you kind of think, could I have done something different? Then you go into the sadness or depression stage, and then the acceptance. And that can be over a period of 3 months, 6 months, it can be years, because I see people who have divorced 10 years ago even, and they're still stuck in that anger stage and bitter stage of going through a divorce. And it's so sad to see, and I desperately want to help people change that so that they can grow, but they have to go through each stage to come out the other side as well. You have to feel sad, you have to feel angry, and it's okay to feel like that, but you've got to go through those stages.
That's something that Ali told me. So, and I call Ali Allison, but that Allison told me, and that really taught me, because she was saying, I encourage my clients to rant and rave and yell and get it all out. And Allison, just speak to that a little bit.
Well, yeah, that's exactly it. Especially, we all work online as well as offline, and you see so many people saying, we can't blame other people, we can't point the finger of blame, we need to take responsibility. Absolutely, that's the end result. But before you can take the responsibility, you need to know what you're taking it for, and you need to know what the anger you've got inside is doing to you, how it feels, and actually get it out and really, be as angry and be as fucking livid as possible and screech and shout and throw things and whatever you need to do, just so you can feel it. Otherwise, it builds up inside until, in my case and in a lot of people's cases, it explodes. It's like a volcano. And you've no idea, you end up having fights about stupid things. Somebody forgets to put the water on for the pasta, and the next thing you're in a screaming row. You've no idea, why that is. And it's just that pent up rage that you've got inside.
As well, Ali, you're absolutely right about it. It's not healthy. When you are in that permanent state of anger, your body is releasing a lot of a hormone called cortisol.
Mm-hmm.
And this has devastating effects on your health. And if that's for a prolonged period of time and you're not dealing with that anger and letting it out, what you're actually doing, you're having a negative impact on your own health.
Yeah.
As well, your physical health.
But a lot of the times people don't even realise they're angry. I mean, and I say that because I was one of them. I would never have classed myself as an angry person. And in fact, when I started going through my own process of uncovering who I was, people, I was told to write down a list of everything I was angry about, everybody I was angry about. I couldn't find a single person.
Wow.
I couldn't, and I didn't get it at all. It was so closed inside. And I would say things like, as Lee knows, the relationship with my mother is something that has caused me a lot of understanding. And they would say, and your mother, and I would say, oh, well, poor thing. And that was as close as I could get to expressing. And then when the volcano erupted, it came out. But I find that a lot with people, we're conditioned to keep it inside, to keep that mask on, to keep the curtains, clean at the windows and whatever. We don't let people know, or we don't know that we can feel it, let alone express it.
People pleasers. You want to please everybody.
Yeah.
And if you're angry and showing this less of a facade of we think our life should be, and I know when I split up from my ex-husband, I realised that the state of my life, which is a bit of a train wreck to be honest, with all the debt and the house repossession and how I felt emotionally and everything, I realised that in my circle of friends at the time, the one thing I felt good at, because there wasn't a lot at that particular time, was that I made them feel good about their lives. Because I know it sounds really bizarre, but this is something called secondary gain as well.
It's called what?
It's called secondary gain. The secondary gain for me was sitting in that state of being a victim of my circumstances, because I was making the others then in my friendship groups feel better about their lives. So it stopped me from doing anything about my own recovery, because I thought, well, at least I'm good at one thing. I'm good at making my friends feel good. They can look at my life and think, well, it's better than Caroline.
Oh, that's hilarious. But I love that, because you were able to show that you rose from, and oftentimes I'm sad to say, I've seen my divorcing clients and I'm like, well, at least my life's not bad, And so, I don't do that anymore, but, before my own kind of working through my own issues, now I have a whole different, belief system about the clients than I used to have. But secondary gain, so what does that mean?
The secondary gain basically means you get a payoff, really, for staying in a situation. And I see this, sometimes I see it with people going through divorce, even bereavement, so widows as well, I see this. Because what people are afraid of is that because they're getting sympathy for going through a divorce of friends and family, what happens is they then get scared about moving on, because what if that sympathy support stops? So we have to work beyond that. So, yes, it's a lovely thing and it's very, very nice getting the sympathy and support, but you want to carry on getting the sympathy and support for the rest of your life and feeling desperately unhappy, or actually take those steps to look at your own life. What can you do to thrive and flourish and build your own resilience up? So, I help people build a toolkit so that they have this toolkit of resilience. So it not only helps them through their divorce process, but actually in lots of other things in their life as well.
Yeah, I remember when my dog died, and and you're talking about, loss of somebody, and this has been relatively recently. And I remember that the first day, I felt so horrible, and then I started feeling kind of a little bit guilty for feeling happy. And I think that people in divorce, if they start to feel happy, if they're going through divorce and they've been in a bad marriage or a bad situation, and they see a burst of happiness, they're like, "Oh, wait a minute," and they want to pull it back in. Should I really be happy? Should I be feeling like this? Do either one of you see that dynamic playing itself out?
Yeah, you see there are two parts to the happiness thing. There's I shouldn't be, but the other side of it is, I'm happy, oh my God, it'll stop soon and it'll be even worse. So I don't want to feel it at all, so I'll push it away.
Yeah.
That's quite a common one, especially in the women that I work with. Oh, I feel a little bit good. I don't want to go back to that place. So I'm just going to keep this sort of balance of nothingness.
Yeah.
No emotion at all.
I was there for many, many years. I mean, when I first started, I was just talking about this a couple of days ago. Like, I discovered I can create my own life. Hadn't cried in like 3 or 4 years, and I was just totally just emotionless. And when I finally started crying, I couldn't stop. I would cry. They called it Lee Daniels syndrome, LDS for short, because I cried all the time at happiness, happy tears. And I'd be like, how can I be so happy? How can I be so happy? And I remember one day sitting in my room just sobbing, thinking, I'm so happy. Because it was just like, I had never felt that way before, and it's not because of anything other than I learned to create that happiness myself. And that's what we're talking about. So let's just go to that person who got a divorce decree. They got, or they settled their case, and they're having a flood of emotions. Some good, some bad. So what do we do? What do we do with that person, Caroline? I mean, I'll say, bye, see you later. Here's your deed, here's your paperwork. But sometimes it's not over. It's not over for them. So what's next?
I think, and again, I remember when I got my decree absolute, I cried, not because I was crying for my ex-husband. I was crying because it was the hope and the future I thought I was going to have. It was that loss. And I think you've then got, and it can be really, really scary, because that direction you thought your life was going to go with a partner is suddenly you're on your own. So we want to use this to people's advantage, and I encourage my clients to think of bucket lists. So, things that you can now do that maybe you couldn't do before. And this can be as tiny as choosing the TV program you want to watch on the telly.
That's not tiny, that's huge in my house.
Exactly. You now have control to maybe some places around the world that you want to go to. And I also work, because I know finances is also really scary when obviously it's all finalized, and I work a lot, and I look at what I call it the financial freedom factor. So where this is looking at people's bills and budget to think, okay, for you to have the bills paid, your gas, your electricity, your phone, everything, do you have anything surplus, or are we short? And if we're short, how do we get that so that you get that peace of mind? So it's looking at everything as a whole, because yes, it's fantastic you're now divorced and you can move on. But with that, so many people are really, really scared. And Ali, you'll know this as well. Am I going to meet somebody? Am I good enough? What do I look like? So it's the whole person, money, how you look emotionally, every single aspect.
Right.
And looking at that to move forward.
And I think, go ahead, Alison.
No, I was going to say, one of the biggest fears that I come across is, am I going to attract the same sort of man again, or the same sort of woman again? I don't want to go through that sort of relationship. Therefore, I would rather not. I'd rather stay single. I'd rather, close myself off. And for me, that's not what we're here for. We're here to be connected. We're here to be in relationships, whether they're long-term romantic or whether they're fleeting, it doesn't matter. We're here to meet people and reach out and touch them. And to be so scared that you'd rather stay on your own, for me, it's heartbreaking. And
I've been quoting Marianne Williamson a lot lately for some reason. She's just been coming to me a lot in her book, Return to Love. And I was just saying, that she says, people will say, I'm not ready for a relationship yet. And she says, you're not ever going to be ready. That's where you become ready. That's where, growth is messy. That the only time you can grow is when you're in relationship, because if you're just there, afraid to connect, afraid to move through, afraid to evolve, then you're not growing.
Yeah.
And that's, I use a lot of positive psychology in my coaching, and with positive psychology, that looks at how you can thrive and flourish. And it's in three aspects: you as an individual, you in relationships, and you within a community. And I think one of the first things that I work on with clients is self-love.
Yes.
Learn to love yourself
Yeah.
first and foremost, because from that moment onwards, regardless of what happens, because let's face it, you could get married again, and who knows, we don't have a crystal ball. That may fail too, not because of anything you've done. It could just be pure circumstance, that scenario. But if you've got then a toolkit where you can move forward, and if you can love yourself and focus on your own happiness, regardless of what happens, then you can build that resilience to keep, and I always talk about, I don't just want to help my clients bounce back, I want to help them bounce forward.
Yeah, good.
And I love that, because it's not a case of being gone from miserable in your marriage to less miserable. Then it's what makes you happy, thriving, flourishing, and like you both said, we get really scared. It's almost we think we don't deserve to be happy.
Yeah. Well, and I was just about to say that, because in a long-term marriage, so I have a lot of people who've been married over 10 years, 12 years, and many of them have not been happy for a long time, and may have just become desensitized to unhappiness because they've been in it, right? And it's just like people that are, and they're not physically abused, but people that are physically abused will come in and go, well, that's not, they slapped me a few times, but I'm like, listen, slapping you a few times is not okay, right? But they think it is, because they're in that, they're in that space where that's been happening to them. And so they don't even know, they don't even recognize how unhappy they've been, and so, and they're beat down. So Allison, I know you are really big on self-love as well. And what are some things, because I think that's part of the emotional aspect. What are some things that you can start doing if you've just been beat down?
Well, I think first of all, starting to talk about it. And that's one of the reasons that we started this in the first place was, when you're in that place, you're beaten down. And a lot of the times, I get women before they've even considered. In fact, mostly when they come to me, they say, I will not get divorced, because they're still in that place of divorce is shame, divorce is financial ruin, divorce is, everything that we spoke about earlier. So when they come to me, they're very clear. I want to save this marriage. I want it just to be better than it is now, is what they're willing to settle for. So just talking about it, because a lot of the times, I hear some horror stories that, my mouth's literally, hanging open, and they think it's okay. They think it's okay to have their car bugged, or to, to have tracker systems in their handbag, or, things that I thought that only existed in movies or books, and this happens in real life. But because they're not talking about it to girlfriends or to, to anyone, they accept it. So, first and foremost is talking it out loud, getting somebody else's reaction, getting, somebody you trust, whether it's your divorce lawyer or your divorce breakup coach or your me, just to gauge that reaction, understand what's good and what's bad. That's the first step, I think. And also to understand what self-love is, because when we know what it is, because we talk about it every single week, we practice. But a lot of people think self-love is having your nails done. It's, and it's so much more. That's one aspect of it, that's self-care. But self-love is really getting to know who you are, accept who you are, love who you are, warts and all, even the bad stuff. When you get to the point that you can say, I made mistakes, I fucked up a bit, but I didn't know any better at the time. Sorry, that was a bad word.
PG read it.
I did. As I came out, I tried to swallow it back. Up a bit. But I didn't know any better. I couldn't do any better. And when you reach that, that stage, that's really, you're really living in self-love at that point, because you're taking yourself warts and all. And when you can take yourself warts and all, everybody does. Not just a potential partner, not just the husband that you have or the wife that you have, everybody in your circle. So it's a great place to be.
And what do you think, Caroline? I'm sure that we all have similar ideas, but when somebody comes to you and they've been in this place of deep down, and what I think is it's like a dirty little secret. It's like all these, how this made them feel, the shame of, my husband doesn't love me, my wife doesn't love me, I'm not attracted to them, or maybe they said something, maybe they've said hurtful things themselves, or they've heard hurtful things said to them, and that's just shame. How do you get out of that shame and guilt?
I think a lot of it is we get so caught up in what other people, or what we think other people are going to say and think of us, and I think that just holds people back in so many things. We get worried about it, and I know I certainly did. When I came out of my marriage, I felt a failure. And I'm not a quitter, and I think that was the thing. I'd always been brought up not to quit, and for that to then break down, I felt a failure. I felt ashamed, and all of these emotions all were flooding through me. And one of the things I work on a lot, and again, this is used in positive psychology, is things like gratitude.
Yeah.
One of the big things for me is, and I will coach my clients to write down 5 gratitudes a day. Now, a lot of people say 3. I always say 5. Because the first 3 are normally very superficial. I'm glad I have food on the table. I'm grateful for my children. We can think up 3 very quickly. But the 4th and 5th, we really have to dig deep sometimes to really think about those gratitudes. And normally within about 21 days, because it normally takes 21 days to create a new habit and a new mindset, we start to then really, really moving into a stage where we can really think about the good things in our life. When we feel gratitude, we can't feel fear or anger.
That's good.
2 of the main emotions we feel when we're going through a divorce or a breakup is fear and anger. But if we're showing gratitude and writing that down, and it's really hard sometimes, I feel gratitude towards my ex-husband. Now, if you'd have said this to me 5 years ago, that I would feel gratitude towards my ex-husband, I'd have thought you were crazy. But I really do, because you know what? I learned from that. And I think there's 2 sentences I say to people. Are you a victim of your circumstances, or are you a student of life? And just thinking of yourself as a student of life, you then realize you are going to have bad stuff happen to you. Nobody can breeze through life with nothing bad happening, if only, but it's recognizing that, so that then when they do, you've got this toolkit of how you deal with them. And I think gratitude for me is a hugely important factor in how I coach people to move forward following a divorce.
Yeah, and Allison does that as well. She has all kinds of gratitude challenges, and I've said I haven't done it yet. I really would like to do. Well, I'm doing it. What am I saying? I'd like to do a workbook for divorcing clients. That's what we're doing, PPC, because I think that's so helpful for them to have something that will help with different exercises to guide them through this process. And I think you guys said it. Stop judging yourself so much for what you have done and what has happened, and and that's the self-acceptance that Allison was talking about, because you can't go back. You cannot go back and rehashing it over and over. What I did wrong, this email I sent was wrong, this text was wrong, this whatever. You gotta let it go, right? I mean, it's gone, it's done.
It's just such a negative mindset to be in, and you're never gonna fully move forward if you're still living in the past. And ultimately people have opinions. The only thing you have control over is your response to things. You can't change something. And again, I talk to clients where I will say, what, you might see someone who's got a new hairdo and you don't like it. Well, you own that opinion, but that person chose to have that. That's their choice. And it's a lot to do with talking about what you have control over and what you don't. Because very often we want to feel like we want control over our ex-partner, what they say, what they do, how they respond to things. And one of the first things is self-awareness, to realize you have zero control over what your ex says, or does. And this becomes particularly prevalent when you've got a narcissistic ex-partner as well, because that can be a whole nother challenge in itself, but you have no control over that.
Yeah, and I think that learning not to engage, and because that, especially and if you have children and you're going through a divorce or you're finished with your divorce, that is a way for them to just keep you tied in, and I always say to people, if they have controlling spouses, that's the only thing they have left. Only thing they have left to control you with. And so they're going to go to that. And, and before I knew anything about narcissism or any of that, I've been saying this for years, just having watched it happen. First it might be control over money, and then it's control over sex. But now the only thing you got is controlling your situation with the kids.
Right, and it is over a period of time as well. I mean, I got diagnosed with PTSD after my divorce and everything. And even now, I got remarried just over a year ago. When I tell my husband now about the things that went on in my marriage, we laugh about it, but we're laughing about it in a like, how did you put up with that? Oh my God, I can't believe you allowed that to happen. And now where I stand now, I look back and think, how did I? But over a week and a month, and a year and another year and another year, where they're chipping away at your self-confidence, your self-belief, you get to a stage where this becomes normal.
Right. Yeah.
So sad.
And Allison, I know that you see women that are in that place as well. And so so the topic for today is about emotions, navigating emotions after the divorce. And I think that just really, I I don't remember who said it now, because of my ADD again, but it's about this self-awareness, and just allowing yourself to feel and not feeling guilty, and being gentle with yourself, and not expecting yourself to be able to just hop up and go, okay, see ya, that was part of your life.
And perfectionism as well. That's part of it. We're so much gentler on everybody around about us than we ever are on ourselves. So we expect so much from ourselves. Okay, the divorce is done. It's sealed. It's signed. Let's move on. I can't. What's wrong with me? Whereas if it was a girlfriend, you'd say, come on, give yourself a break. Be gentle with yourself. Go and take some time out. Look after yourself. Let's do something nice. But with us, we're always pushing and pushing and pushing. So it's a case of knowing that we don't need to be perfect, recognizing that we're never going to be perfect, but as long as we're trying the best we can to do the best we can, we don't need to do any more than that. I think
I love the idea too, the bucket list. I think that we're going to wrap up, but I think that telling some people, so gratitude, acceptance, what else? Finding a good support system. What are some other bullet points?
For me, the biggest thing is not. What's the expression? It's gone completely.
There's the ADD.
There's my ADD kicking into.
It's allowing yourself to know that it's going to be a process.
Yes.
Your divorce is not an event. It doesn't just, you get your absolute,
yes,
it's bang, over. This is a process that you go through, a grieving process.
Yeah.
You need to go through each step to come out the other side. And if you miss that step, down the line, it will come back and bite you on the bum again. So
yeah.
So knowing that, you're going to have a rough year, or it could be 2 years, but you're going to come out the other side. You're going to come out stronger, more resilient, more self-love. So knowing that when you're having those days of sadness and anger, that it's okay, because this is what I'm meant to be feeling. I'm meant to be feeling like this because I'm going to come out the other side, rather than thinking, why am I feeling like this? I should be moving on, and and beating yourself up about it. It's allowing yourself to go through that process.
Yeah, that's exactly, I have somebody that I care about a lot, and I say that, just remember, it's a process, it's a process, it's a process, because, I see that that's how people end up going from one relationship to another one. And if they haven't processed it, then that relationship's going to end too. And they're going to pick that same person again. You got to get that shit out. Oh, now I said some bad words. Anyway, you got to get it out.
Naughty girls.
I know, naughty. Oh, I went into it pretty quick. Occasionally I like to slip into accents while we're on the call.
I don't know what accent it was. I couldn't place what area you're from.
And anyway, so I know one day, Caroline, we had 2 Scottish women, and suddenly I find myself talking like a wee Scottish lad.
Broad Glaswegian accent, it was class.
It's very funny. We need to get some different accents on here, but some Polish people or something. I love the Polish people. I don't mean any disrespect. So anyway, there's that ADD again. But guys, so I hope that you've enjoyed being here with us, because like Allison and I were telling Caroline that this is a heavy subject, and you know, I know that in my own office that if people will come in feeling like their life is over, and when they leave with a smile or a laugh or feeling some hope, then I know that I've been successful. Because for me, it's not just about practicing law with the documents and the laws and the statutes. It's about connecting with people and helping them move into a better life, which is what both of these beautiful ladies here with lovely accents do. So where can everybody find you guys?
Caroline?
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got my website, carolinestrawson.com. You can go on there. There's a contact form, so we can have a free call if you'd like. And also on Facebook, if you want to drop me a friend request, connect with me on Facebook or through my business page as well. So Caroline Strawson, Divorce Became My Superpower, which is my business page, or of course Caroline Strawson on my personal.
Amazing. Allison?
And you can find me on my website, alisonreiner.com, or again on Facebook. You can find me in my group, Loved Again Forever, or here in PPC.
So thanks, everybody. And you can find me in Huntsville, Alabama, or on Project Positive Change. And I will be with Allison in Amsterdam in just a few days at our next event. So thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Thank you so much, Caroline.
Thank you, Caroline. Thanks, Lee.
Bye. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.